Welcome to Face to Face. This is a show about change and about what's next. It's a show that wants to ask questions, peel back the layers of our average everyday experience, and go beyond scratching the surface. We interview amazing people with incredible ideas and stories who have done wild, weird, and wonderful things. Remember that imagination shared creates collaboration, and collaboration creates community, and community inspires social change. I'm David Peck, and this is Face to Face. Watch films, make change is the tagline for the Reelworld Film Festival coming up October 12th to 16th at the Harbourfront Centre. Check them out online, reelworld.ca. My guest today is Gabe Lindo, and we had a interesting conversation about film, about social impact, social change. We had a great conversation. Gabe's a great guy. He's the executive director of the Reelworld Film Festival and has lots to say not only about the festival, but about social change and about impact and about how to change the conversation. He talks a little bit about new forms of storytelling as well. And I think you're going to find this interesting on a variety of levels. I think you're going to find it engaging on a whole lot of other levels. So do tune in, and also definitely check out the festival online, October 12th to 16th, reelworld.ca. It's at the Harbourfront Centre, and some great films coming up in the next little while, and Gabe talks about some of those as well. And don't forget rabble.ca, davidpecklive.com for more info about my podcasting and public speaking and my writing, and stay tuned. Gabe Lindo. Well, welcome to Face to Face. We're joined by a special guest today from Toronto. We're not sadly face to face as we often are, but Gabe Lindo, the executive director of Reelworld, is here with us today, and I think he's going to be talking about a whole lot of things. But I think we're going to be focusing on a film festival coming up in the next few days. Gabe, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I guess my interest right out of the gate is the Reelworld Film Festival. Tell us about that. It's coming up within a week or so's time. Love to hear about that, but maybe you can throw a few thoughts in there about the organization as well.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we're really excited about the festival coming up. It's October 12th, and essentially the whole festival is focused on issue-driven films, exploring pressing issues facing the world. And we're really excited about being able to do that both through traditional storytelling through film, but we've added for the first time this year virtual reality films, as well as interactive gaming. And these are all, again, exploring really pressing issues, everything from the environment and climate change to the refugee crisis, and as well other issues around domestic violence and other things. And so really excited to be able to use different forms of storytelling to shed a light on a lot of pressing things that are of importance to a lot of people.
So Gabe, when you mention interactive and virtual reality, does that mean that I get to take on the role of a refugee, for instance, or an internally displaced person, or something along those lines? Is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, there's been a lot of really, even in the last 12 months, a lot of great innovation around how do you use the medium of virtual reality to immerse people in a story and make them feel and experience what it's actually like. It's essentially what film does, traditional storytelling. But what we've found is that we have a project that's premiering at the festival for the first time in Canada. It's called Hard World for Small Things. And that puts you in a vehicle that is driving through a community that eventually is pulled over by the police and an incident occurs. But what's really great about it is that as you're watching this experience with the VR headset, you actually feel like you're friends with the people in the car and you can empathize with them, and the event that's happening is actually taking place in your world. And so, again, these are not very long. A lot of these films are anywhere from 3 to 6 minutes, but they definitely place you in the situation. You can turn all the way around and have a 360 view of the world that you're in, and you'll be able to explore a refugee camp. You'll be able to explore Fallujah, as well as you'll be able to look at displacement in refugee camps around the world. So it's I think a really interesting way to go deeper into a story.
It's
one thing to read an article about something, but
it sounds great. I mean, I remember a course I did years ago at Humber College in International Development, and there were, animated versions of, I think, exactly what you're talking about, of, trying to situate you within a context and to give you a sense for some of the issues. I mean, on some level, it almost seems a little, I don't know, disrespectful to say, oh, wow, I now know more what it means, to live like a refugee because I played this video game. However, I think, your comment is really well taken. I mean, isn't what Real World all about trying to create that sense of empathy? And, like you mentioned, you're pulled over by the police in this game, and you're positioned in a way to care for the people in the car with you, as you said, in this digital setting.
Yeah, I saw that, for that example, that particular experience, I saw it about 5 months ago, and I still feel as though, in a way, it happened to me. And I get your point about, not wanting to make more of it than it is, but I do think that what's exciting about this medium is that it can actually immerse you and give you that feeling as though you're experiencing something in real time. And it helps you to empathize with people in that situation. It's the same with a really powerful film called Across the Line that is coming to the festival as well. And this film is about, it was actually done in partnership with Planned Parenthood. And this experience is, you're in the body of a woman who is walking towards an abortion clinic. And what many people might not know is that oftentimes there are protesters hurling the vilest insults and comments towards people at perhaps some of their lowest moments. And so in this experience, you're walking through, and there are crowds of people on either side of you, and it's recreating the experience that a woman would have to go through to get to the clinic. And so again, it's one thing to read or to see a news clip on something, but it's something else to feel like you're going through that experience yourself. And I think that is what's really exciting about this medium and makes it a really powerful empathy building machine.
So just to be clear, Gabe, Real World Film Festival, but in your 16th year, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So tell me about, planting the seeds of social change. What have you guys found out about social justice? What have you found out about the splash and ripple effect, the domino effect? I mean, obviously empathizing with others is probably one of the first steps towards changing things to making a better world, whether it's environmentally or politically or socially. What have you learned? Have you learned that, I can just let you answer the question or throw a few more out there, but I'd love to hear, it sounds to me like you guys are still pretty hopeful about what's next, but I'd love to hear some of the lessons you've taken away.
Well, it's a great question, David, and I hope that I can do it justice. I think, films in and of themselves can't create change. I think that what they can do is create awareness, and they can amplify and create a spotlight on pressing issues. But ultimately, it is up to the individual watching and also various organizations who are actually on the ground working, and campaign builders and educators. And I think that's a big reason as to why we've introduced the conversation room to our festival. So, imagine you watch a film and it's a really powerful story, and then the lights come up and the credits roll, and basically, traditionally, we just leave and we go about our way. One of the things that we're really trying to capture is how do we leverage that moment where people have been inspired and actually have been drawn in to care about an issue. And how do we actually now connect that person with the different organizations or campaigns that are actually on the ground creating and working towards change? So that's a really important part of the festival experience, where after you see a film in a theater or a VR experience, we don't just send you home, but we actually have created a physical space and invited different organizations to participate so that you can actually find out more information about what they're working on. You can explore volunteer opportunities, or you can get more literature on the various initiatives that they're doing. And so for us, that's, for every single film that we're showing, we're going to have complementary organizations present at the festival so that audiences can actually engage with them and get more ways of getting involved.
So is it kind of like a more of a post-intimate Q&A, or is it more of almost a conference-like setting where you can approach a table and actually have a one-on-one with some of these folks?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, so we're still doing post-screening panels and conversations in theaters, but once they leave, we're actually pushing people into this big conversation space where different parts of the room will have organizations that represent the issues related to each film. And you can go there, you can get a coffee and chat and sit. There's tables,
That's great,
ottomans and whatnot. But it's a very relaxed environment. There's no pressure at all. That people can, connect with other organizations, but also connect with each other and fellow audience members if they want to, decompress and chat about something that they saw. And what's great is you just never know where those collaborations lead. You never know where the seed of inspiration comes from in terms of, someone that's been in the theater that's sitting 30 rows away from you, and then you happen to bump into them in the conversation room, and you become allies towards creating change in some way that was unexpected. So
I've often
that's part of it as well.
It sounds so great, Gabe. I think it's so important to try to continue to nurture that and water it, whatever that means, because I think sometimes, certainly I've been working in this sector for years, and I kind of feel like these films, these ideas, these panels, these books are kind of preaching to the converted, if you will, and so. How do we change the minds of others? How do we move the needle forward? And I don't know. It's got to start in dialogue, it seems to me.
I think that's right, but I also think that a big part of it is creating opportunities for people to get involved and take some form of action.
Yeah.
A lot of times when, myself included, when I watch a really amazing story about something, I immediately go to Wikipedia or Google to find out whatever I can about that issue because I want to do something. I want to learn more about whatever I just watched. And I think what's key is that it's not just showcasing and presenting new stories to people, but it's also figuring out ways to connect them to the next step that they could take. Whether it's a small change that they make in their own personal consumption choices, or it's them taking a step to get more involved, or then sharing the film or the idea with others. So it really, I think, there isn't one outcome that is the answer per se. It's going to be different for everyone. The trick, to some extent, is to make sure that there are opportunities available for when people are engaged.
I mean, obviously you as executive director, I'm sure you've got lots of great things to say about the festival this year, but any highlights for you that you're really looking forward to, other than a few after film parties?
Yeah, for me, I'm really excited to see how our VR lineup will fare. I mean, we have some really fantastic films, but what's really great is, again, I think the way that we've situated the VR hub, it's going to make it for not just having an individual VR experience, but you'll have a chance to actually debrief with others who have seen it at the same time. So I'm really excited to see how that will play out. But of course, the film that we chose for our opening night in many ways epitomizes what Reelworld is about, which is telling stories that are so important to be told and to sort of create spotlight around in shoots. The film Shadow World, which covers the global arms trade, I think is truly an important film, especially for now, because we know that so much of what we've been hearing about with ISIS and Syrian refugee crisis, a lot of the issues that are global in nature result from the instability of global conflict. So this film does a really great job of showcasing, where is this coming from? Like, where is this imperative to be continually arming and spending more and more money on global arms? So it's a really illuminating film that I hope that people really love, and I can't wait to show that on opening night. And then the other thing that I'm excited about is we're doing some really great things in the evenings. They're not traditional parties per se. They're really taking films and pairing them with different art forms. In particular, we have an event on the Thursday of next week, the 14th, which is looking at pairing poetry and film. So there's a poet who will basically introduce a short film, and we do that a number of times over the evening. And so I think it's going to be really exciting. The Toronto Poetry Slam is working with us to bring some fantastic artists, and so I'm really excited to see how that works as well.
It sounds great. I mean, it almost sounds more like an art installation of a sort rather than a film festival. I mean, it sounds like you guys got a whole lot going on, which must be pretty exciting.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, at the core of it, it's just about storytelling, ultimately.
Right.
And the key is that we all can be reached in different ways, whether it's through a traditional film or if it's through a short film or a VR film. It doesn't really matter. Ultimately, what matters is that the stories are resonating and connecting to the important issues. And so that's what really is that sort of solidifying theme across all of the initiatives that we're doing this year. It's really just profiling storytelling in all its forms, focused on pressing social issues. And so we're really excited about introducing a lot of really great projects to the city, and we hope that we can continue to build on that interest.
Yeah, that's great. So just before we wrap it up, Gavin, we give people some coordinates here. Do you have any real special guests coming this year?
Yeah, we do. It's funny because this isn't a festival so much of Hollywood and celebrities per se. It's more so the real stars are the storytellers and the filmmakers who have in many cases spent the better part of their lives researching and finding the funding to bring these stories to life. And so we're really excited about a number of folks that are coming, a number of really great storytellers that are coming, and we hope that we can continue to create a platform for them. In particular, we have Andrew, who's fantastic. He's the writer of Shadow World, and Andrew Feinstein will be with us on opening night and the next night as well for a conversation. And so for each of the films, our filmmakers will be there, and it's a real way to not just connect with the filmmaker, but also to hear about why the issues matter to them and why they invested so much of their lives in
That's great, Gabe. I'm looking forward to getting out myself. It's October the 12th to the 16th at Harbourfront. People can register, or at least buy tickets, I should say, reelworld.ca, and that's real spelled REEL world.ca. Gabe, any last thoughts before we sign off?
No, I just want to thank you, David, for taking the time to chat. We're really a huge fan of the work that you're doing, and it's something that we would love to continue to support, and I hope you continue the great work you're doing.
Well, I really appreciate it, Gabe. I really do. Thank you. I don't take those kind of comments lightly. Gabe Lindo, he is the executive director of the Reelworld Film Festival, October 12 to 16. It's coming up in the very near future, and check them out for more information online and tickets, reelworld.ca. Thanks a lot, Gabe, for your time today.
Thank you, David.